Top 10 Serial Killers of the 21st Century. A chilling glimpse into modern-day murderers. The world has always been fascinated and horrified by the existence of serial killers. While we may think of them as figures from the past, the 21st century has seen its fair share of such individuals who commit brutal, calculated murders. These cases serve as reminders that the darkest parts of human nature persist into modern times. Below is a chilling account of the top 10 serial killers of the 21st century, based on their notorious crimes, the number of victims, and their impact on society. 1. Pedro Rodrigues Filho, Brazil. Known as Pedrinho Matador, Pedro Rodrigues Filho is one of Brazil's most infamous serial killers. Born in 1954, his criminal activities peaked in the 21st century. By the time he was arrested, Filho had confessed to killing more than 70 people, many of whom were criminals themselves. This led some to view him as a sort of vigilant killer, though his methods were brutal. He targeted drug dealers, gang members, and even his own father. Filho claimed that his killings were acts of justice, but the sheer number of murders makes him one of the deadliest serial killers of the modern era. 2. Samuel Little, USA. Samuel Little's reign of terror lasted for decades, but it wasn't until the 21st century that his true criminal history was fully uncovered. Little, who died in 2020, confessed to killing 93 women between 1970 and 2005. While the majority of these murders took place in the 20th century, it was his confessions and the subsequent investigations in the 21st century that brought attention to his staggering body count. His victims were often marginalized women, and his ability to evade capture for so long highlights the failures of law enforcement in tracking down serial killers. 3. Robert Pickton, Canada. Canadian pig farmer Robert Pickton was convicted in 2007 of murdering 6 women, but investigators believe that he may have killed as many as 49. Most of his victims were sex workers from Vancouver's downtown east side. Pickton would lure them to his farm, where he brutally murdered them, often feeding their remains to his pigs. His trial exposed deep societal issues surrounding the treatment of marginalized women and raised questions about how authorities handle missing persons cases, especially when the victims come from vulnerable populations. 4. Mikhail Popkov, Russia. Mikhail Popkov, also known as the Werewolf, is a former Russian police officer who was convicted of murdering 78 women between 1992 and 2010. His status as a police officer allowed him to lure victims, often offering them rides late at night. Popkov's brutality shocked the world, as many of his victims were subjected to extreme violence before being killed. He claimed that he was cleansing his community of immoral women, a disturbing justification for his horrific actions. Popkov was sentenced to life in prison, though investigators believe his actual number of victims may be higher. 5. Israel Keyes, USA. Israel Keyes was an American serial killer who took a calculated and methodical approach to his murders. He committed his crimes between 2001 and 2012, targeting random individuals across different states in the U.S. What set Keyes apart was his chilling level of planning. He would bury murder kits containing weapons and tools in various locations, returning to them years later to carry out his crimes. Keyes was eventually caught after abducting and killing an 18-year-old girl in Alaska. He committed suicide in prison before his trial, leaving behind cryptic notes and a legacy of terror. 6. George Ignacio Palma, Spain. George Ignacio Palma, a Colombian-born killer, was active in Spain in the 2010s. He was accused of murdering several women by drugging them with lethal doses of cocaine during sexual encounters. Palma targeted women in vulnerable situations, and his crimes went unnoticed for years until a pattern of deaths emerged. The chilling details of how Palma preyed on his victims have sparked widespread media coverage, highlighting the ongoing threat of predatory killers in the 21st century. 7. Rodney Alcala, USA. Rodney Alcala, also known as the dating game killer was sentenced to death for the murders of 5 women and girls between 1977 and 1979. While most of his known killings occurred in the 20th century, Alcala remained in the public eye well into the 21st century due to new evidence that linked him to additional murders. In 2010, DNA evidence connected Alcala to 2 more cold cases, further cementing his place as one of America's deadliest serial killers. His use of charm and good looks to lure victims remains one of the most haunting aspects of his crimes. 8. Stephen Port, UK. Stephen Port, also known as the Grindr Killer, was a British serial killer who preyed on young men he met through the dating app Grindr. Between 2014 and 2015, Port murdered 4 men by drugging them with lethal doses of GHB, a date rape drug, before sexually assaulting them. He would then dump their bodies in various locations in London. Port's case raised serious concerns about police negligence, as investigators initially failed to link the deaths, despite clear similarities. His trial in 2016 led to a life sentence, and his crimes highlighted the dangers of online dating for vulnerable individuals. 9. Alexander Pikishkin, Russia. Known as the chessboard killer, Alexander Pikishkin was convicted of murdering 48 people in Moscow between 1992 and 2006. Pikishkin's goal was to kill 64 people, 1 for each square on a chessboard, a chilling testament to his calculated and obsessive nature. His victims were often vulnerable individuals, such as elderly men or homeless people, whom he would bludgeon to death. Pikishkin's desire to outdo infamous Russian serial killer Andrei Chikatilo only adds to the horror of his crimes. He was sentenced to life in prison in 2007. 10. Bruce McArthur, Canada. Bruce McArthur, a Canadian serial killer, was convicted of murdering 8 men between 2010 and 2017. McArthur targeted men from Toronto's LGBTQ+ community, many of whom were immigrants or refugees. His ability to remain undetected for years, despite being linked to multiple missing persons cases, raised significant concerns about how law enforcement handles cases involving marginalized communities. McArthur used his job as a landscaper to conceal the bodies of his victims in planters on properties where he worked. His arrest in 2018 brought relief to Toronto's LGBTQ+ community, but also sparked widespread criticism of police handling of the case. The 21st century has seen its fair share of chilling serial killers whose crimes have shocked the world. From vigilant killers like Pedro Rodriguez Filho to methodical murderers like Israel Keyes, these individuals embody the darkest aspects of human nature. What is particularly disturbing about modern serial killers is their ability to exploit weaknesses in law enforcement, societal prejudices, and technological advancements to evade capture. Each of these cases serves as a reminder that evil can lurk anywhere, and the fight against such predators must continue through better policing, public awareness, and support for vulnerable communities. The horrors of these killers' crimes leave a lasting impact, urging society to stay vigilant and proactive in preventing future atrocities. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. Also, subscribe to our channel before you go. Thank you for watching.